Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now July 14th of 2025, and given that the Meghan Markle backlash is not only going out of control internally over at Netflix, but also in the public eye, we know that a lot of things are beginning to backfire on the image of Netflix based on how Ted Sarandos is still keeping Meghan Markle there. If he had actually half a brain at this point, he would cancel season 2 with Love Meghan outright and really not deal with any of this nonsense any further. Now yes, we pointed out several times that he is beginning to crack. He's beginning to show some major signs that he's beginning to get very frustrated with Meghan Markle, and he actually showed a lot of that frustration through the multiple emergency meetings that took place over at Netflix. However, what's interesting here has a lot more to do with the whole Meghan Markle situation when it comes to all of the test screenings, when it comes to all of the outrageous moments that occurred just days ago, and how it's all beginning to actually go back to not just Ted Sarandos, but also Greg Peters. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing about Meghan Markle is that, yes, we do know that she will do whatever she has to do to remain over at Netflix. She deeply wants a contract renewal. She is begging Ted Sarandos for a so-called season 3 of her show. In reality, if she even got a season 3, it would be the real season 2. We already talked about this, about how season 2 is basically just part 2 of the first one. Now, what's interesting about this further, though, actually has a lot more to do with Meghan Markle actually shouting and screaming at a live audience and exactly why this all occurred and exactly what's going on there. Now, when Meghan Markle got caught in multiple moments of backlash, both internally at Netflix and also in the public eye, one major development going on now involves more to do with her struggles over at Netflix, especially after her most recent test screening went haywire, after test screeners and audience members called her out during the Q&A session after the screening took place. Now, it turns out there is more to this story to when Meghan Markle screamed at the live audience on stage when she was taking questions about With Love Meghan Season 2, where it turns out that multiple screeners brought up the fact that they found her social media campaign to be very poor to promote With Love Meghan Season 2 with her pregnancy video, and handed out tips that what she did was not only unprofessional, but that it was embarrassing for many mothers and even fathers out there taking care of their newborn children. Now, when Meghan was confronted about this during the last test screening, it turns out that the reason why she was confronted was that Meghan brought up the pregnancy video in the first place, that in her mind, that was part of her social media campaign to gain people's interest in how she views life, and to promote With Love Meghan. Netflix producers and executives were furious when she made it out to be official that her post on social media, dancing and rap lip-syncing to music while she was pregnant, was officially, of course, attached to Netflix, when in reality it wasn't. After screeners pointed out how unprofessional that was, it turned out that Meghan Markle snapped at them and raised her voice and even screamed so loud into the microphone that it rattled throughout the entire audience, where she labeled them as haters and false fans, and kept repeating and demanding that the audience to stop heckling her on stage in the middle of the QA. Now, what's interesting about that is that this was not the third Q&A session, but rather a new shocking development connected to the last one, which was the second one that took place days and days ago, that Netflix was fuming over, by the way. It got so bad to the point that they had to actually get Meghan Markle off stage immediately, and Netflix producers had to actually come on stage to directly apologize that her social media posts were never part of their marketing campaign or strategy ever, and that it was all a misunderstanding. This was the very moment when even Ted Sarandos, the Netflix CEO, one of them, decided to pull the plug on plans for future Q&A sessions with Meghan Markle unless she actually shapes up and fine-tunes her behavior with the public. Now guys, before I move on, let me just say one thing about this. Now, this just goes to show you that maybe these Q&A sessions are not working out for the best at Netflix, especially for a show about Meghan Markle. And you know what? Look, as much as I am of a critic of, Ted Sarandos, he did make the ultimate right choice here by slashing any plans for Q&As attached to future test screenings. Now, I think that was obviously a good step in the right direction. That's what you needed to do right from the get-go. Honestly, I don't even know why they did this in the beginning, to have Meghan Markle take questions and get all, overly, dramatic on stage and really putting the audience, in a very difficult situation where it was quite embarrassing, not just for the audience, but also for Netflix execs and the producers and even Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters who were standing by. I mean, it was a mess. It was ugly. And what's even worse about this is that this is beginning to spread throughout all of Hollywood. We're going to discuss that in just a second, but this, of course, goes to show you exactly how out of touch Netflix really is, how unorganized this studio really is. They don't really know when to actually learn from their mistakes. They don't know where to draw the line in the sand, or when, of course, to really back away from any boundaries. And Meghan Markle engaging in these Q&As is the epitome of that. Netflix not really realizing what they're doing. So again, they finally, decided to say, all right, no, enough of this nonsense, let's just call it off. Now, moving onwards, many other Hollywood studios caught wind of this explosive piece of drama in the screening room, and is causing many networks and studios to continue to turn off Meghan Markle, basically, by either canceling negotiations and or never allowing her to work with them in the first place. Now, there was reportedly a very intense meeting between Markle and Ted Sarandos, along with the Netflix board, based on what she did and how irresponsible that she was, and that Netflix executives have even warned of taking legal action against her if this ends up damaging the Netflix image and the brand in the long run. And you know what? They have every right to do that, because for her to go on stage and say, yeah, my pregnancy video, what I posted on Instagram was all part of the plan, all part of the marketing campaign for With Love Meghan. It really wasn't. She just did that, she claimed that to make it seem like she had a way to justify her actions of posting such nonsense on social media. And hence, that was her way of saying, I really wanted to gain viewership to come back to the show and to get people familiar with me. And look, this is typical Meghan Markle. She will pull any stunt out there to get people interested in her, to get people interested in her brands or her projects, brands like As Ever, for example, or her projects like With Love Meghan. And look, we all know that Polo was a massive failure on Netflix. Let's not forget about that. Practically nobody even watched it. Most people don't even know it existed. Some of you may be wondering right now, what in the world is Polo? Well, there's your answer right there. But what's interesting about this yet again is that this test screening, alright, the second one, this is a new development based on the second one, goes to show you exactly how in the hole Netflix really is, and how they really are just not listening to the general public on how to handle a business, how to handle a proper strategy at play. And that's exactly why everything's backfiring. If Netflix really wanted to take a lot of responsibility, they would pay the ultimate price, cancel this project, whatever it costs, get out of Meghan Markle's contract and call it a day, because you're going to save yourself more damage, and you're going to save yourself and your image if you just move away from this thing now and don't drop this thing in the fall. So overall, I would love to hear what everyone has to say about the whole Meghan Markle drama, the whole backlash situation, everything that erupted where Meghan got very intense with the audience members based on her pregnancy video and her claims about it. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.